and welcome to News Epicenter. I'm Anusha Soni. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge fired a fresh salvo at the BJP for not inviting President Droupadi Murmu for the inauguration of the new parliament building. While the political taunt did not stop there, the Congress president also invoked the caste or the Dalit identity of the president. The Congress argued that BJP practices the politics, and I'm quoting, of tokenism, and there is no real respect for any underprivileged community. Well, ever since the announcement of this high-profile project to this present-day criticism, the Congress party has clearly shifted paradigms in its own criticism. From being called a personal vanity project to the timing of the project or the disproportionate exchequer expenditure and the present-day criticism as to who inaugurates the parliament building. All these controversies make a long list in the sort of attacks that we have seen coming in from the opposition quarter, especially the Congress party. It is well documented and politically substantiated that the Congress party and its top leadership earlier in the past have supported the need for a new parliament building. Various letters were written during the UPA tenure to have a new building in the wake of number of MPs, which are likely to increase in the future. Despite the political gimmickry, at the end of the day, it's a national heritage. It's going to be the new parliament building. Should this crucial infrastructure, which is going to be part of nation's identity, heritage and symbol of democracy, become a political punching bag? We talk on all these aspects tonight. That's our focus on Epicenter.
प्रधानमंत्री खुद करते हैं, ये राष्ट्रपति करना चाहिए। अरे जिस जगह महत्व देना है, उनकी गरिमा बढ़ाना है, उस जगह तुम उनको देते नहीं।
Well, let me take the question to our guest and our special panel joining us tonight. We have Mr. Guru Prakash Paswan, who's the national spokesperson for the BJP, Advocate Mahima Singh from the Congress Party, Riju Datta, who's the spokesperson of TMC, and Professor Sangeet Ragi, who's a thinker and an author. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Paswan, coming to you first, because I quoted in the beginning what Mallikarjun Kharge said. And I think the new point in this entire attack coming in from the Congress party is that you don't really give real respect to the leaders coming from underprivileged communities in this country. Respond to that, sir.
Anusha, a very warm good evening to you and all my fellow panelists. And I really find the observation of Mr. Kharge laughable. Now, look at it historically. It was the Congress party that insulted Baba Saheb Ambedkar. It was the Congress party that insulted its own Babu Jagjivan Ram. It was the Congress party that insulted its own President Sitaram Kesri. It was the Congress Chief Minister Kamal Nath who called a Dalit woman, a Dalit MLA, an item girl. Congress party and its leadership has no authority, has no locus standi when it comes to speaking on the issues of the marginalized. It took us more than 7 decades. It took us more than 75 years after independence to have a woman from the tribal community at the highest constitutional office in the country. What did the Congress party do then? They opposed the arrival of the first tribal president tooth and nail. And now look at the hypocrisy and the double standard of the Congress party. The Congress party is a feudal institution. It is a feudal political party. Every now and then, we have seen the Congress party has treated the Dalits in a very disrespectful manner. That is the real modus operandi of the Congress party. Congress party ensured that Baba Saheb did not reach the parliament in the 1952 parliamentary election. Babu Jagjivan Ram, the tallest Dalit leader after Baba Saheb Ambedkar, he left the Congress party. So we have a list of leaders from the Dalit and the tribal communities who have faced the ire of Congress party.
Guru Prakash, you've responded on the caste angle that has been raised by Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge. Let me ask you in another direct question, and this is a question coming in from the Congress party. I must raise it here on the debate. That why is it that we have the inauguration of the Parliament building and the President of India has not been invited? Respond to that, sir.
No, Anusha, we have to understand Is there a clarity on that? There is absolutely no clarity on that. The Congress party is playing politics on that. And I have a list of events. The Congress party did a similar thing in National War Memorial case. They did a similar thing in when Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose statue was installed in place of King George V. They did a similar thing when Rajpath was named as Kartavya Path. I have hundreds of such examples when the Congress party has opposed the monument with respect to national respect and national recognition. And the Congress party has absolutely zero authority when it comes to speaking of the issues of the marginalized. I can give you 10 of other examples. Today, what is happening in Karnataka, there was a Dalit leader, G. Parameshwara. What happened to him? You said we'll make a Dalit chief minister. Time and again you said we'll give voice, we'll give choice to Dalits in the tribal.
Two pertinent points that have been made by BJP. I'm going to take that to Mahima ji as well. She's joining us on the broadcast. Mahima ji, the argument that the BJP is raising is that if you're going to talk about respect to the Dalit community, then there are various questions that the Congress party also has to answer. I want to ask you that there is no laid down convention as to how a parliament building needs to be inaugurated. This is the first time we are having an inauguration of this nature in the independent India, the new parliament building. It is unheard of. It has not happened earlier. The BJP goes on to say that we have had a consensus and understanding, and we have taken the decision that the Prime Minister is going to come forward and inaugurate the building. What's wrong with that?
Good evening, Anusha, and good evening all. सांसें जितनी मौजें उतनी सबकी अपनी अपनी गिनती सदियों का इतिहास समंदर जितना तेरा उतना मेरा. You see this, the Parliament of India is the temple of democracy, and it belongs to all of us. You know, the citizens of India, it is our representatives that sit there and raise our voices over there. And when you talk of it not being inaugurated by the constitutional head of the country, by the first citizen of the country, it speaks for itself. The fact speaks for itself. And you just said, you know, when you asked the BJP spokesperson, you said that we are raising questions on the BJP reducing to tokens the leaders coming from, Dalit backgrounds and tribal backgrounds. Let me say it is not another leader that we are talking about. We are talking about the first citizen of the country, which is our honorable president.
You opposed it, madam.
And apart from that, please do not interject.
I did not opposed the nomination of Droupadi Murmu ji. The history knows it.
Recently, the BJP spokesperson spoke. I did not interject.
Guru Prakash ji, I have taken your interjection. Let her make her point, and I'll take that interjection to her earlier. Mahima ji, go ahead. Make your point.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just want to remind her that it was her party that opposed the nomination of Droupadi Murmu ji.
I'll come to you. Just keeping the decency of the debate. Mahima ji, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Said, Anusha, that it was unheard of, not only in India, world over, it is unheard of that a parliament which was in good shape, which stood firmly, was redone world over, I am saying. And you see, our honorable president has rightly said that they have reduced the president's office to tokenism. Because you would remember that even on the foundation laying ceremony of the Central Vista, on which they have spent about 900 crores, which is the stated cost. I'm not even going to the concealed costs, whatever may have gone in there. And this is the money of the people of India, and the money of the people of India was invested in this building when it was built 93 years ago. So let me just say, when it was started, when the foundation was laid, the then president, honorable president, Mr. Ramnath Kovind, was not invited. I mean, can you imagine?
Mahima ji, I want to understand something from you. What is the objection of the Congress party? The objection of the Congress party is to the money that they have spent. The objection of the Congress party is to the entire existence. Let me finish my point, ma'am. I'll give you the opportunity. Is to the existence of this entire project. Because if it comes to the second point, I have ample data in front of me right now to argue that various leaders of the Congress party have spoken in favor about having a new parliament building. We have Mr. Jairam Ramesh on record, who back in 2012 had made this statement that we badly need a new parliament building. This one is simply not functional and is outdated. There are various letters which have been written during the UPA tenure, after the NDA came into power. So for the Congress party to say, look, we never asked for any kind of building of this nature, or this is something which is unheard of, I think there's a bit of deception there, isn't it, Mahima ji?
If you talk of an irony like that, Anusha, I'll have to say that it was the BJP that opposed the GST, opposed the policies like Aadhaar, tooth and nail, and today they are the ones.
Mahima ji, with due respect, I expected a better response from you other than political whataboutery.
I'm going to respond. Yeah. I'm going to respond to your point. I'm going to say, and what I'm saying is that yes, the leaders from the party may have said that, but the party never brought in or initiated a process like that. And what we are saying today, you are asking me, what is it that we are really questioning?
Right.
We are questioning. We did question the relevance when it was initiated. Today, what our leader, what our utmost, leader sitting at the helm, Mr. Kharge, he is questioning the way in which the president's office, the office of the President of India, is being reduced to tokenism, mere tokenism.
Okay.
Because Mr. Ramnath Kovind was not invited to the foundation laying ceremony. Ms. Murmu is not invited to the inauguration. She's not invited to the inauguration.
I take your point. I take your points. I have to bring in Mr. Riju Datta and also Professor Sangeet Ragi into the discussion.
The parliament is conducted when the president summons the members of parliament.
I have taken your point. Guru Prakashji, while you make a quick response from you, but let me add one question to your response and to the interjection that you made, that if this is the parliament of the country, then it's beyond political parties. The Congress party is saying that if you want to inaugurate a parliament building, have the first citizen of the country inaugurate so that it's not party specific. Guru Prakashji.
Anusha ji, for the understanding of the viewers, we have to make this very clear. It is the same Congress party whose leader of the House in the Lok Sabha, Adhir Ranjan, insulted the office of president. Where was your sensitivity back then? Rashtrapatni. It was the same Congress party whose national spokesperson, official national spokesperson Ajay Kumar, Shaitani Manasikta, where was your sensitivity back then? Your another official spokesperson, Udit Raj, about the President of India. Time and again you have insulted. If you had that sensitivity for the tribals, for the marginalized, why did you oppose? Ideally, after 75 years, there should be a national consensus on the first ever tribal lady as the president of the country. But there was no consensus. You opposed. And the history is aware of it. And I can give you 100 of such examples, Anusha ji, where the Congress party has shown that disrespect and has insulted the aspirations of the marginalized and the disadvantaged. This pure rhetorical game of the Congress party is nothing but a game of hypocrisy which is being
I've taken the political. Mahima ji, I'll come back to you. Please, I have to bring in Riju Datta into the discussion. Mahima ji, I'll come back to you. There'll be other points that will be made in the discussion. I'll come back to you.
He can brazenly lie on the national television.
Nobody can brazenly lie on national television. The Congress party will get the adequate time to respond to whatever has been said by the BJP. Mr. Datta, coming to you before I take in the word from Professor Ragi. What is the position of the TMC? The TMC party, the TMC is a political party, has been very calculated on issues like this because this is somewhere seen as a project of national pride, something which is a breakaway from the colonial legacy and a thing of the past. The TMC party and the stand of the Congress, do you support in what Congress is saying?
Let me be very clear. When President Madam Droupadi Murmu, her name was announced right at the end by the BJP in the presidential election, my leader, my supremo Mamata Banerjee said that if BJP would have announced her name at the very onset, we would have supported her. Point number one. Point number two, when she came to Bengal, you saw it, and the whole world has seen how the president and the chief minister both shared equal respects. But our questions are three questions. Number one, first question, which definitely is the case, is why the temple of democracy is not being inaugurated with the first citizen of the country. That's a question BJP cannot avoid. Question number one. Question number two, the UK Parliament, the US Parliament, both have been standing till the 1700s. Okay, you wanted a new swanky parliament, whatever. It was in very bad taste because it started during the COVID time when people were gasping for air and dying due to lack of oxygen. But still you've done it. Now the third point that we think that we should raise is that why is it being inaugurated on Savarkar Day? Why not on 15th August, which is the Independence Day? Why not on 14th April, which is the birthday of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who's the writer of the Constitution, or on 26th November, which is the Constitution Day? Why is this desperate need by the BJP to get it inaugurated by Pradhan Mantri Modi and inaugurated on Savarkar Jayanti, so that you absolutely make it a BJP propaganda? Why? It is not BJP's paternal property. It is going to stand for the next 100 years as the temple of democracy for India. So inaugurated by the president and inaugurated on a day.
So,
which
Guru
is relevant,
Prakashji,
like 15
TMC
August,
and the
14th
Congress
August,
party are on the
21st
same
November.
page as far as who does the inauguration of the building is concerned, and they're asking these questions. Your response, sir? Guru Prakashji.
We have to understand their... No, Anusha ji, we have to understand their fake prem when it comes to the Dalits and the tribals of the society. And my friend from the Trinamool Congress, I just want to simply remind him that in the name of Khela Hobe, a tandav of violence was unleashed on the streets of West Bengal. Who were the victims? The victims were Dalits, the victims were tribals, the victims were the marginalized section. Women were brutally raped, brutally murdered, brutally killed. Where was your conscience back then? My only point is, our only contention is that Dalits, tribals and marginalized, they should not be used for political advantage or political leverage. You should be actually be working for them. And I can give you hundreds of examples. It was the Congress party, the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, who opposed the recommendation of Mandal Commission on the floor of the parliament. Where was their conscience then? The country is very well aware. The Dalits, the marginalized, the tribals are very well aware of your manipulative agenda. Be it the Congress party, be it the Trinamool Congress, we are all aware of your fake prem for the Dalit and Adivasis of the country, and we are not going to be befooled by you anymore. That is
Riju Datta, 30 seconds to you. 30 seconds to you, then Professor Rao. 30 seconds.
And
Yes.
I will give you point by point rebuttal. First of all, my good dear friend Guru talks about post-poll violence. Now let me remind you and all the viewers, the CBI formed a four units consisting of 28 CBI officers for post-poll violence, which recently by a CBI notification, which you can fact check, were all called back because nothing has been found. Point number one. Point number two, there is a Kurmi Andolan.
Nothing has been
West Bengal
found.
and all
Riju
throughout the
Datta ji.
country. Let me
Riju
please
Datta
finish.
ji.
Please let me finish. There is a Kurmi Andolan who wants ST reservation. The Bengal government has given our letter to the center saying we have nothing against the Kurmi for ST reservation. The central government is not giving them reservation. So this is
Abhishek,
their
can I
love
comment?
for all the STs. Now the third point. We all know, the country knows how Manipur is burning in an ethnic cleansing. Who is the double Indian Sarkar there? And what is happening to the Nagas and the marginalized and the tribals of Manipur and Nagaland?
Okay.
The thing is, let's not make it political. The BJP has
Anusha ji.
never done anything for the tribals and the marginalized and the Dalits. They have suffered under the BJP regime. Just making up a precedent does not abolish you of all your sins that you have unleashed on the Dalits and marginalized.
Well,
But
as a
when it comes
journalist,
to
all
the
I can
parliament,
say is that if
please.
history were to be dug up, a lot of questions can be asked of all political parties as to what they've done for the community. But I want to come back to the moot question about the inauguration of the new parliament building and how the politics around that entire issue is being played out. Professor Sangeet Ragi, coming to you. Should this have been beyond political debate, or was it inevitable what we are witnessing right now?
I think that the Congress party is, the president of the Congress party, whatever has said just for the sake of politics. After all, we have a parliamentary democracy in which the Prime Minister is the head of the government. And it's also a constitutional position. So if the Prime Minister has been invited by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha to inaugurate the building, there is nothing to say that it intends to or it aims at insulting the President of India in no way. The Congress party should not forget that it didn't come out to support Droupadi Murmu as a presidential candidate. As far as rubber stamp is concerned, we know that very well that when Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister and Gani Jeltsin happened to be the President of India, it is customary on part of the Prime Minister to apprise of about his foreign visit, whatever transacted with the the heads of the government. But Rajiv Gandhi never visited during his tenure after he became the Prime Minister. So a courtesy call. We all know that, how there is a long debate in the parliament on which what would be the right of the President of India is subsequently happened during the Nehru time itself. And Nehru, if you look at Article 35, in which condition it was signed, and President Rajendra Prasad didn't want to, but Nehru forced it to get it done. So I'm making a limited point that please don't bring in who is rubber stamped and who is not rubber stamped. We know that there is a constitutional provision in this country, and we are living in a parliamentary democracy where actually the head of the government is the Prime Minister, and I don't see any harm in. Unfortunately, since the Prime Minister has been, is a very, very popular leader of this country and also belongs to a political party, the opposition always, finds him a soft target to attack on, be it any issue.
Okay.
They want to denigrate the Prime Minister. But
Maimaji, I want to take that. Yes, Professor Raghi, make your point. Yeah.
Now this is a temple of New India, Mahimaji, and where the population, which happened to be in the 1947, is no more the same. We are the largest population of the world. This parliament, and there is a discussion going on, we have to revisit the number of the constituency, the number of the members of the parliament in time to come, which will be actually the representative voice of our people.
Okay.
So in one constituency, we have 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, somewhere it is 50 lakhs.
And the proposed delimitation exercise that might happen in future. Maimaji, I'm sure you have a lot of points to counter on, but let's begin by what Professor Raghi had said. That if you dig in history and if you try and find the precedents at what time the office of the president was used as a rubber stamp or was politically ignored by the sitting prime minister, then the Congress party has a lot of instance to countenance.
Anusha, let me just say that we cannot pick and choose when we talk about, the constitutional values, the constitutional propriety and the democratic values that we uphold when we are conducting a parliament. I have threefold questions, but before that, I will just take forward a brief point that Professor Raghi just mentioned. He talked about the population of India. And let me just reiterate that the census is overdue. A caste-based census is much needed and it is overdue, Professor Raghi. The Prime Minister and his government doesn't listen to the opposition's much, they don't heed to our request. You might as well do that job, and then we'll know exactly how should the delimitation be appropriately done. Now, let me come to the threefold question that I have for the BJP and let them answer that. Number one, can the Prime Minister summon the members of Parliament in a democracy like ours? That the BJP should answer, and then they should come to answer the second question, which is that why is the BJP hell-bent on undermining the constitutional propriety which is vested in the office of the President of India by virtue of our democratic values, our constitution, by virtue of our constitution. And the third question that I have, Anusha, today, which is very relevant, is that why is the BJP also hell-bent on undermining the relevance and importance of our founding forefathers and mothers, that are the minds behind the constitution that run our democracy today. This is the temple of parliament. This is the temple of democracy that all of us are going to be governed by, and the constitutional head of this parliament, this temple of democracy, is the president.
As you make your point, can I also ask you candidly a question that comes to my mind as a journalist? You'd make your point. I'm staying with you, ma'am.
I will. Please just allow me to complete my point. One last point, because there was a mention of the leaders from the Congress party, one of which had a tongue slip and apologized duly. The other, had proven the point duly that what was presented on TV channels, Dr. Joy Kumar, proved that it was half presented because the full phrase was different. Now the Prime Minister is yet to apologize for the Beti Bachao, Beti Patao tongue slip. And the BJP spokespersons don't cease to bring up these.
Let's stay focused in the spirit of a constructive debate and a dialogue. Maimaji, I have a question for you. My question is that, and I ask this to you very candidly, doesn't it sound like political frustration what the BJP says? That first you begin by talking about the timing, then you said, look, so much money is being spent, the timing is wrong, why are we having a new parliament building? Then the BJP goes on to say it was your leaders who had spoken for a new parliament building, and now there is political bickering about who inaugurates it. The criticism itself of the Congress party has not been a consistent one. You've shifted paradigms. What does that show?
Well, Anusha, during the peak of COVID, when, as the TMC spokesperson has rightly pointed out, people were gasping for air, there was shortage of oxygen and drugs. We had raised a voice which was unheard of. Of course, when there was a lockdown, thousands of laborers were forced to work at the Central Vista site. We raised all those points, but now that is bygone, and that cannot be revisited and repaired. What can be repaired today is the undermining of the president's office, is something that can be immediately attended to, is the undermining of the forefathers of the constitution.
No, but how are they being undermined? I ask you this question so that I can take it to BJP. How are they being undermined?
The money that has been spent cannot be brought back now. Now they've done what they wanted to. Because, you know, it's, as I said, इतिहास जितना इनका है उतना हमारा भी है, जितना हमारा है उतना इनका भी है, right?
लेकिन महिमा जी, ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता ना कि पहले कांग्रेस पार्टी के बड़े बड़े नेता इसके बारे में बात करें और बीजेपी जब इसको लागू करे तो आप बोले कि ये गलत है. मतलब विचारधारा और मतलब तर्क तो एक ही होगा ना.
Let me just say that, you know, when we are governing a country, a lot of remarks are made, a lot of we have a democracy within the party and outside the party. So we have multiple views. Our leaders may have felt. Some of our leaders may have felt.
So, Mahima ji, it is fair to say that what was said that time was wrong.
It's just a 93-year-old building which stands very firm. And as I said, this kind of redoing of a parliament, you know, relocating of a parliament is unheard of across the world. This was not required. Congress never initiated a step like this, you know, as a whole while governing the country. Maybe, you know, our leaders remarked and said something like that because they may have felt so, but it was not taken up as a matter of governance.
All right, Guru Prakash ji, make your point. Please go ahead.
All the parties.
All right.
BJP took it singularly.
Guru Prakash ji, make your point. The question which is being repeatedly asked is that A, the expenditure, which the Congress party continues to believe is something which was not required, and B is the manner in which it is being inaugurated. And in fact, the Congress party goes on to say, I'm sure you've heard, Mahima ji, that you're betraying the constitutional mandate and the vision of the forefathers and mothers.
Constitutional propriety was the key word in the observation of my friend from the Congress party. Now let me remind her what constitutional propriety is. There is a news from Karnataka. Government teacher suspended for FB post critical of Siddaramaia's freebies. This is a direct assault of freedom of speech and expression, which is the constitutional cornerstone of constitutional propriety that you are speaking. Point number one. Point number two, you are talking about democracy within your political party. Excuse me, madam. Senior leaders like Mr. Kapil Sibbal, senior leader like Himant Biswa Sharma, senior leader like Ghulam Nabi Azad, they have sufficiently spoken about the democracies within your political party. When your own national president, Mr. Sitaram Kesri, who comes from the OBC community, he was insulted and ousted from the Congress party office. This is your idea of democracy of within the Congress party? Point number one. Point number two, constitutional propriety. And it is so pricey of the Congress party, speaking of constitution, the only one occasion the country has seen emergency bypassing the constitution was during the reign of the Congress party, and the Congress party has never apologized for it. Point number three, you are talking about the president and the honorable president. Your sudden love for the honorable president is astounding, is surprising, when your own leader of the house have repeatedly made these remarks. Not on one occasion, not on two occasions, not on three occasions. The point is, the simple fact of the matter is that the Congress party and its established leadership cannot digest the fact. They cannot digest the fact that leaders from the marginalized community, leaders from the OBC community, leaders from tribal communities are occupying the highest constitutional position in the country today. You speak ill of the Honorable Prime Minister who comes from OBC community. You speak ill of the Honorable President who comes from the tribal community. You speak ill of all the representatives who come from the marginalized sections.
Can I have the Congress response?
Where do you stand? Where do you stand that?
Can I have the Congress response? Please go ahead. Yeah.
Anusha, you hold a debate on parliament, they will go to Karnataka. You hold a debate on Karnataka, they will go to Rajasthan, but they will never
that happens for all political parties. That I can tell you as an anchor. That happens for all political parties, but never mind. Let's come back to the topic. Yeah.
No, I have stuck to the point, but this is a very relevant point. This is the way the BJP digresses debate.
Now, I'll come to you.
He's talking about the love for
this is
the
constitution
president.
propriety. Yeah.
Allow me to respond. Please allow me to complete my thought, Anusha. You know, they talk of the love for the president, It was the friends of the BJP that time and again insulted Ms. Pratibha Patil when she was the president. Now when they're talking about the love for the president, the Congress has always had deep love for the constitutional values, for the democratic values. And thirdly, he's talking about the leaders.
What about Adhir Ranjan ji?
गुरु प्रकाश जी उनको अपनी बात पूरी कर लेने दीजिए. महिमा जी, go ahead. Yeah.
Satyapal Malik is revealing deep, dark secrets of the BJP day in, day out. Today, I came across a video when Mr. Satyapal Malik is telling us that there might be no elections after 2024. And here I'm talking about a former governor of a state where they took the historical...
What sort of observation is this, Anusha? Why are you even allowing this?
Please don't, my friend, don't talk about Ghulam Nabi Azad and his likes. Because you have a Satyapal Malik.
Why are you even allowing this preposterity, madam?
Isn't that also a lot of fear mongering and rumor mongering? I mean, Mr. Satyapal Malik has the right to say what he wants to, but not necessarily. And you spoke of digression. Aren't we digressing from the debate right now?
Because he talked about the leaders. He talked about leaders like Ghulam Nabi Azad ji. I had to remind him of Mr. Satyapal Malik. I mean, you don't expect me. I'm rebutting, Anusha. I am not taking the debate myself to another state or another point.
Okay, as I close this debate, Mahima ji, 30 seconds to you. The Congress party opposed the nomination of Droupadi Murmu as the President of India. This is a point repeatedly that the BJP has raised. Response of the Congress party. Why do you have sympathy for them now?
We don't have sympathy. We have devotion for the constitutional value, propriety and democratic values. It's not one person that we have the devotion or dedication for.
Okay.
It's the dignity of the post, which is, the first citizen of India. I have just said, and I will reiterate, that it is not one person that we are talking about. It is the President of India, and once that is undermined, that sets a precedent.
All right, I have to close the debate. Last 30 seconds. Professor Sangeet Ragi, please go ahead.
Anusha, the constitutional propriety demanded that the elected members should have elected their leader as the Chief Minister of Karnataka.
Right.
But it was the High Command who decided who will be the Chief Minister of Karnataka. The constitutional propriety doesn't demand that a Prime Minister is elected without, how Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was elected Prime Minister. Everybody knows the constitutional propriety even then was not followed. The constitutional propriety doesn't demand for a high command culture at all, but this was what Congress party wanted.
Right.
The appointment of the governors in the state, you look at the Sarkaria Commission, in what context Sarkaria Commission was constitution and what was the report of the Sarkaria Commission, it was not followed by Congress
Professor
party
Ragi,
at all.
All I can say as a student of constitution is that it is deeply saddening when you study Indian history, and it's riddled with various instances where political parties have defeated what we call constitutional propriety. Well, the inauguration is set to happen. It will happen on the 28th of May, and the politics around it continues. I thank all of my panelists for joining us on the broadcast as we debated this on News Epicenter tonight. Now on to another big story.